Somebody buys a jar of gold shimmer for a birthday cake. It looks incredible. The party happens, the photos happen. And then, while she's cutting slices, somebody picks up the jar and reads the small print. For decorative use only. In an analysis of about 2,400 category reviews, 9.5% of the negative mentions are a version of that exact story. The sparkle turned out not to be food.
And I have a confession before we start. For most of my adult life, I thought non-toxic and edible were the same promise. Non-toxic means it won't hurt you. Won't hurt you means you can eat it. That's how a normal person reads a label, in a store aisle with a cart and a 5-year-old negotiating for cereal.
Welcome to the Monégasque Table. Today, non-toxic versus edible. Two words that sit side by side on the shelf and mean completely different things, and the labeling loophole that keeps landing craft dust on birthday cakes.
And I'm arguing for the confused shopper today, because I was her. Be nice.
Always. And here's the answer up front, because this is the one question where nobody should wait. Non-toxic means if a little ends up in a mouth, it probably won't poison anyone. That's the entire promise. It is not a food claim. Crayons are non-toxic. Glue sticks are non-toxic. Nobody frosts a cake with a glue stick. Edible means this is food, made to be eaten, sold as food, with an ingredient list to prove it. So the rule is short. If the sparkle is going on anything someone will eat or drink, the jar needs the word edible and actual ingredients printed on it. Non-toxic alone is a no.
Okay, but explain the trap to me, because the trap is what got me. Last spring, I was standing in a craft store with a tube of silver glitter in my hand. Cupcakes due the next morning, and the tube said non-toxic in this big, cheerful font. I stood there for a full minute. It was glitter. It was in my hand. It said the reassuring word. How does a tube that isn't food end up doing that to me?
Because non-toxic comes from a different world, art supplies. It's a craft safety idea. The kid chews the crayon shouldn't hurt the kid. Genuinely useful standard for crayons. The trouble starts when that same word migrates onto shimmer. That's styled like a baking product, photographed on cupcakes, 2 search results away from the real thing. And nothing on the front of the jar says, this is not food. The word doing all the reassuring was never about eating.
So it's not even a lie. That's the part that makes me crazy. It's a true sentence doing a misleading job.
That's the loophole in one line. True words, wrong aisle.
And nobody polices this?
This is exactly where the FDA has planted a flag. The published position on decorating dusts is plain. If glitter or luster dust is going on food, it has to be genuinely edible with the ingredients listed. And it's not theoretical. FDA investigations have linked non-edible luster dust to real contamination events. Real cakes, real reports. Which is why the same advice keeps getting repeated. Look for the word edible and look for the ingredient list.
All right, my first punch, because I wrote your opening number down. 9.5% of negative mentions. Negative reviews are already the minority of reviews. So this horror story is a sliver of a sliver. Most people buy sparkle, shake it on, post the cake, done. Are we really building a whole episode on the rare bad ending?
We genuinely disagree on what that number means, so let's have it out. Look at what the rest of the complaint pile is. The color was off, the jar felt small, it clumped, annoying, refundable. This failure is different in kind because you find out after the party. There's no refund for my family ate craft dust at a birthday. So yes, a small slice with the single worst downside in the category, and it's the one failure you can prevent with 10 seconds of label reading. That's not a rounding error. That's the entire reason the distinction exists.
I'll hold my ground that the odds are low, but I'll grant you this. The confusion itself is not rare at all. And the search bar proves it, doesn't it?
It does. The safety questions around this product run over 2,000 searches a month, combined. Is edible glitter safe alone is about 720 a month. And my favorite detail in all of it, One of the questions people type into AI chatbots, word for word, is difference between edible glitter and non-toxic glitter. The exact question we're answering today. People aren't careless. The shelf is genuinely confusing, and they can feel it.
Which is weirdly comforting. It's not that shoppers are silly. The labels are doing a little dance.
So let's teach the 2-minute fix. Sparkle Lab. 2 jars on the table. Jar 1 is the edible kind. Flip it over and you find a real ingredient list. And in this category, the honest lists are short. Names like mica-based pearlescent pigments and iron oxides. Those aren't mystery chemicals. They're color additives listed in the federal food regulations. 21 CFR 73.350 covers the pearlescent pigments. 73.200 covers the iron oxides. Named ingredient, named regulation, printed on a jar that's sold as food. We did a whole episode on what edible glitter is made of, if you want the full tour of that list.
And jar 2?
Jar 2 sparkles identically in the photo, but the back reads differently. Non-toxic, big and friendly on the front. Somewhere smaller, maybe, for decorative use only. And very often, no ingredient list at all. Nothing. There's a review in this category's data from this January where the buyer's whole complaint was that no ingredient or composition list came with the product. That's the tell. Food tells you what it is. Decoration doesn't have to.
The silence is the answer. And can I tell you the detail in those turned out not to be food reviews that actually gets me? The timing. Nobody catches it at the party. The cake gets eaten. Everybody goes home happy. And the discovery happens the next morning when someone finally reads the jar over coffee. The photos are already posted. You can't unserve a cake.
You can't. And that's why the silence matters so much. By the numbers, it's the category's sorest spot. Over 66% of the ingredient-related complaints in those reviews are about missing ingredient information. Not alarming ingredients. Missing ones. People aren't finding something scary on the label. They're finding nothing, and nothing is scarier.
Okay, quick one before my real punch. What about the jars that say food grade? Or food safe? Because those phrases feel like they're trying to say edible without saying it.
Good ear. They're not equal. Food grade is a food claim. It says the stuff itself is made to food standards, and on honest jars, it travels together with the word edible and a real ingredient list. Treat it as a good sign, then check the list anyway. Food safe is the squishy one. Dishes are food safe. It can mean fine to touch your food, which is a very different sentence from fine to be your food. If food safe is doing all the work on its own, keep walking.
One more lab question, because I want to be able to do this in the wild. If I held a pinch of each in my hand, could I even tell them apart?
Sometimes. Craft glitter is mostly cut plastic. Tiny confetti with hard, uniform edges, which is why it never quite melts into anything. The edible kind is mineral-based, those mica pigments again, so it tends to read softer, more shimmer than sequin. But honestly, the eye test is not the method. In a photo, they can look identical, and that's the whole problem. The label is the method.
Fine. Then the label better hold up, because here comes the punch I've been saving all episode. Edible is also just a word. Your whole method starts with look for the word edible. But the same printer that prints non-toxic prints edible. If the loophole is that true words can do misleading jobs, then a shameless seller can put the magic word on craft dust, and my careful label reading is worthless. The word can't be the proof.
That's the round you win. And I want to sit in it for a second, because you're right. The word gets a jar onto the shortlist. It is not the finish line. The proof is everything the word drags behind it or doesn't. An ingredient list with names you could look up. A listing that sells it as food in the food category, not craft supplies in a costume. A seller who answers when you ask what's in it. A word with no paperwork behind it is just font.
Just font is going on a sticky note on my fridge.
So here's the working checklist. 4 lines, and then you can take your victory lap. 1. The word edible on the front, not implied. 2. An ingredient list on the jar or the listing. No list, no sale. 3. Ingredient names that sound like food regulations, not paint. 4. If decorative use only appears anywhere, in any font size, that jar is decor. It can be beautiful. It cannot be dessert.
Now let me defend the other jar for a minute, because my kids have a craft bin and I am not throwing it out. Ornaments, slime, place cards, the science fair volcano, the glitter jar that gets shaken when somebody needs to calm down. Non-toxic craft glitter is the right product for every bit of it. Cheaper, wilder colors, and nobody eats a place card. Deal?
Deal. With one boundary I won't trade away. The line isn't, will anyone deliberately eat this? The line is, will this touch food? A glittered topper standing right on the buttercream. Craft sparkle over a dessert table, drifting while someone pours the punch. That stuff sheds. It travels. If it sits on the cake or above anything being poured, it's edible grade, even when that piece is just for looks. Craft glitter lives its best life in the craft bin, away from the table.
See, I would have argued the topper was fine. It's decor. Nobody bites a topper. So we genuinely disagree there. But I'll concede the shedding, because I have vacuumed craft glitter out of a carpet, and that stuff travels like gossip.
It does. You find it in the car in December. And that's honestly the cleanest case for the edible kind. It's built so that where it lands doesn't matter.
All right, who should skip it? Your favorite segment, my favorite segment.
If nothing you're decorating goes near a mouth, skip edible glitter entirely. Display cookies for a craft fair, tree ornaments, a photo shoot cake that's headed for the bin, the kids' slime station. Craft glitter is cheaper and made for exactly those jobs. And if you already own a shimmer jar that says non-toxic, don't panic and don't toss it. It did nothing wrong. It's decoration. Move it to the craft bin, keep it off the frosting, and you two will get along fine.
I'll add one more skip. If you're listening in a mild panic because the party is tomorrow and you just read your jar, you may not need to buy anything. Read the label you already have. If it says edible and lists its ingredients, breathe. You were fine all along.
That's the kindest version of this episode's advice, and I'm keeping it. And here's the other side of all this caution. The reason the edible kind exists at all. The cake comes out, the lights go down, the shimmer catches the candlelight, and some kid drags a finger through the frosting before anyone can say no. And it's fine. Nobody has to check a jar mid-party. Nobody whispers a question over the punch bowl. 10 seconds of label reading at the store buys you a celebration with 0 asterisks.
Dana's scorecard. Where I started, non-toxic sounded like the same promise as edible, and picking between 2 sparkly jars felt like a coin flip. Where I landed, in 4 lines. Non-toxic means it won't poison you. A crayon promise, not an invitation to eat. Edible means food, and food comes with an ingredient list. No list, no sale. The word alone is just font. That's the round I won. So the proof is the list behind the word, and the seller who'll answer for it. And craft glitter keeps its job, gorgeous and cheap, as long as it never touches the table. My caveat stays on the record. The bad endings are rare. Read the label anyway, because it's the one bad ending you can't return.
Sold. One footnote, since people always ask what this looks like done right. Our gold jar's own listing says it in a single line, unlike craft, glitter, or non-toxic decorative dust made only for display. Monégasque is truly edible. Ingredient list on the jar, about $15, 4.6 stars across 6,669 ratings, and over 400,000 orders across the US, Canada, and the UK. If you want the homework already done for you, the Mun Edge ASQUE Gold 15 gram jar is on Amazon.
And next time, we take this to the biggest table of all. How much edible glitter do you need for a wedding? A champagne toast for 150 guests, a 3-tier cake, shimmer that has to hold through the speeches. Is that 1 jar or 10? Bring a calculator.
The happiest math we've ever done. Quick note before we go, this show is produced by the team at Monégasque with AI-crafted hosts, and every number you heard was checked by humans against the documents. See you at the table.